Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Ciera Breland? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the disappearance, then offer my analysis. Ciera Breland was born in Georgia on January 10, 1991. Her parents are named Nick and Kelly Locklear. The family lived in Cleveland, Georgia, about an hour and 40 minutes north of Atlanta. Ciera was described as enthusiastic, outgoing, loud, and friendly. She went to the University of Tennessee before studying law at Florida State University. She became a lawyer in Atlanta. Her area of specialty was insurance defense. In October 2020, Ciera became active on dating websites. She met a man named Xavier Breland Jr. on Tinder. This name can be pronounced in two ways, Xavier or Xavier. In this instance, the name is pronounced Xavier. Xavier was divorced and had two children, a 10-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. People who knew Ciera were a little bit confused by her attraction to Xavier. He didn't appear to have steady employment, although he had worked as a truck driver and operated his own car detailing business in the past. The fact that Xavier had children was inconsistent with Ciera's plan for her life. Despite this apparent mismatch, Ciera thought that she was madly in love with Xavier. Sometime around April or May of 2021, the couple married without telling anybody. Ciera was pregnant, which may have led to or accelerated the wedding. The couple was married over Zoom due to COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. This Zoom wedding deviated from Ciera's stated goals from earlier in her life. Ciera said she would never get married or have children, and here she was getting married in a secret wedding by an officiant who wasn't even there in person. I don't know if the idea of a Zoom wedding is ever going to catch on. A major draw of a traditional wedding is the nostalgia that becomes associated with it, like the special memories. What type of memories does a Zoom wedding form for people? I can imagine a married couple reminiscing about their Zoom wedding and saying something like, "Wow, what a great occasion. The internet connection that day was incredible." The couple moved to Carmel, Indiana, in order to be close to some of Xavier's family members. Carmel is just north of Indianapolis. In October of 2021, Ciera had a son named Jackson. By all accounts, she liked being a mother and was committed to the well-being of her son. Ciera supported her family by working at a law firm in Indianapolis. Now moving to the timeline of the disappearance. On February 19, 2022, Ciera, Xavier, and their son Jackson visited family in Georgia. They also had their dog with them, a Labradoodle named Baker. This was about a 9-hour drive. For the first couple of days, the family visited Ciera's parents in Cleveland, Georgia. After this, they visited the home of Xavier's mother in Johns Creek, Georgia, about an hour and 15 minutes south. Ciera sent a text message to her father on February 21 at 11:17 p.m., saying that she intended to return to their house the next morning, meaning her parents' house. She never showed up. She texted that she felt sick. After this, she no longer responded to messages. On February 24, the last confirmed sighting of Ciera would occur. She was captured on video in the doorway of the house of Xavier's mother. This was at 7:17 p.m. On February 26, Xavier reported his wife missing in Carmel, Indiana. He said that she went missing after an argument on February 25 at about 10 p.m., which was not long after they supposedly returned from Georgia. He claimed that Ciera was demanding the drug Adderall, but didn't have any of her own prescription remaining. She wanted to consume Xavier's Adderall, but he refused. She left the house on foot with a possible destination of a CVS drugstore. Xavier thought that she might be wearing a black tank top and purple shorts. The temperature outside at this time was in the mid to high 20s. The police checked surveillance video from the area, including the drugstore. There was no sign of Ciera on any recording. Ciera left behind her identification, credit cards, vehicle keys, her personal cell phone, work phone, and a burner phone. She had a burner phone so she could communicate with her family without Xavier knowing. The police brought in dogs to track Ciera's scent, but the dogs came up empty. They didn't even alert on the couple's Volkswagen SUV, despite the fact that Xavier claimed that Ciera was in the vehicle for the trip back from Georgia. The police found it hard to believe that Ciera was in the vehicle for 9 hours, yet the dogs did not detect her scent. The police collected data from Ciera's cell phone. The data indicated that she had spent quite some time near a river in Johns Creek that was not far from the house of Xavier's mother. At least her phone spent that time near the river. The police searched the river without success. They also searched Xavier's mother's house. Evidence was collected, but the police refused to describe the evidence. The police found a video recording that captured Ciera's Volkswagen. They said that the vehicle contained a person in the driver's seat and a dog in the passenger seat. The police would not say who the driver was, but they were able to determine the identity of the driver. I'm glad the police clarified that the dog was not driving, but one convenient feature of dogs driving from an investigative standpoint is that they are always easy to identify. This is because a dog always drives with their head out the window. The police were suspicious about Xavier's claim that Ciera returned to Indiana with him. The couple was supposedly driving together, yet the police found a video from a gas station somewhere between Georgia and Indiana, which captured Xavier refueling. There was no sign of Ciera with him. In addition, her dog was not spotted. Again, the dog was supposed to be there too. Some of Ciera's family members had concerns from early in her relationship with Xavier. The police spoke to the family members. Here are a few examples of disturbing or worrisome circumstances, according to the family members. Ciera was becoming increasingly isolated. She was usually assertive, but now she was being submissive. Xavier had not worked for quite some time. He would yell at her and ask to see activity on her phone, like he didn't trust her. Xavier seemed to be obsessed about ex-boyfriends. He questioned whether or not he was actually the father of their son Jackson, and arguments became physical in nature. In the summer of 2021, Ciera sent an image of herself to her mother. In this image, Ciera appears to be injured. Ciera said that Xavier slapped her. Ciera wanted her mother to store the image in case she needed it in the future. In December 2021, Ciera and Xavier were visiting Ciera's family. The couple looked tired. They said that people were chasing them. Specifically, Xavier claimed his ex-wife's new husband was somehow connected to a cartel and, apparently for no logical reason, was interested in harming Ciera. The couple hid at a hotel for a while. Ciera was upset and lost weight. She even contacted the FBI. The authorities determined that there was no validity to the cartel story. When Ciera was visiting her parents in February 2022, right before she disappeared, Ciera's parents said that Ciera had no intentions of returning to Indiana. She was planning on divorcing Xavier. The police received a video from an anonymous source, which featured Xavier talking to his children. In the video, he implied that Ciera had been kidnapped, which is different than what he told the police. Unrelated to Ciera's disappearance, Xavier had been charged with aggravated stalking, violating a protection order, and sending harassing communications. He allegedly placed a tracking device in a stuffed animal belonging to his daughter in order to track his ex-wife, and he allegedly made harassing calls to his ex-wife. On March 1, 2022, Xavier was arrested for those charges. Again, this is related to his ex-wife, not Ciera. The next day, Xavier was declared a person of interest in the disappearance of Ciera Breland. Xavier was extradited to Georgia, where he faced trial. On August 11, 2022, he was found not guilty on all charges. He was immediately taken into custody in Fulton County for contempt of court charges. At the time making this video, Xavier has not been charged with any crime in connection to Ciera's disappearance. Xavier's attorney released a statement which suggested that Xavier was devastated by his wife's disappearance, and if he wasn't incarcerated on an unrelated matter, he would be helping to look for her. The attorney misspelled Ciera's name twice in the statement. Now moving to my analysis. Many people believe that despite not being charged, Xavier Breland was somehow involved with his wife's disappearance. Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that Xavier was involved, starting with the inculpatory factors. From early in the relationship between Ciera and Xavier, there appeared to be problems. Ciera's family members reported various bad behaviors on the part of Xavier, including yelling and physical violence. He was jealous, controlling, and isolated Ciera. Ciera appeared to adopt some unusual beliefs, like she became paranoid. Perhaps this was due to Xavier manipulating her. Xavier's relationship with his ex-wife appears to be rocky. Ciera had mentioned a desire to leave Xavier before she became pregnant. There's the sense that she recognized the relationship was toxic. During the trip that Ciera made to visit family just before she disappeared, she said that she did not intend to return to Indiana with her husband. Ciera's cousin frequently communicated with Ciera. According to her cousin, Ciera was starting to realize that she did not know Xavier very well. Ciera was becoming frightened and believed that some of Xavier's problems were beyond what she could tolerate. She believed that Xavier was capable of doing something very bad to her. In one of her last messages to her cousin, Ciera texted her, quote, "I'm at Xavier's mom's house, and I'm heading to Dad's, and he won't give me Jackson, so I'm waiting to get him so I can leave," unquote. This makes it sound like Xavier was holding onto their son as leverage to prevent Ciera from leaving. Ciera was last spotted at the house of Xavier's mother. The police said that there is no evidence that Ciera ever returned to Indiana, but Xavier claimed that she did. Xavier was captured on camera at a gas station fueling and using a restroom, but Ciera was not seen. Usually when people are on a road trip like that, they both use the restroom when the vehicle stops. Xavier's story about how his wife went missing doesn't make sense, even if one were to believe that Ciera made it to Indiana. He would have people believe that she walked out of the house wearing a tank top and shorts in 20-degree weather and did not even bother taking a phone, credit cards, identification, or her keys. Ciera had supposedly been in the couple's Volkswagen SUV for at least 9 hours, but police dogs did not detect her scent in the vehicle. When Ciera was visiting the house of Xavier's mother, her phone was near a river for quite some time. Why would that be the case? Xavier was captured in a video suggesting to his children that Ciera may have been kidnapped. Again, this is different from what he told the police. Ciera sent her mother an image in which she appeared to be injured. She blamed Xavier for causing the injury. Ciera did not have a habit of disappearing, and it is unlikely she would have ever voluntarily separated from her child or from her dog. Moving to the exculpatory factors, there is no physical evidence implicating Xavier. There is no video of him doing anything wrong, no witnesses. The police cannot be sure that Ciera is dead. She could have simply run away. Xavier was the first person to report his wife missing. When considering all the evidence, do I think that Xavier was involved in Ciera's disappearance? In my opinion, he was probably involved. It seems like the relationship between Ciera and Xavier was headed for disaster right from the beginning. Moving to the last question, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Ciera was full of energy and had big dreams. When she graduated, she was ready to experience life as an adult in every way. She not only wanted a career, she wanted romance and a family. She had focused heavily on her education, but was not very well versed in how romantic relationships worked. She was naive in that area. When she encountered Xavier, he immediately started showering her with attention, telling her how beautiful she was, and making all types of grand gestures. Ciera was swept off her feet to the extent that she ignored obvious warning signs. Over time, Xavier's mistreatment started to wear on Ciera. She was ready to leave. When she became pregnant, she felt trapped in the relationship. She decided to give Xavier another chance. They were going to attempt to build a life together. Xavier wanted her to move to Indiana so he could isolate her from her family. This was a tactic to maintain control. Once again, despite Xavier's best efforts to manipulate Ciera, she was growing tired of mistreatment. She made a plan to leave. This time, Xavier was out of nonviolent solutions, and he resorted to something more dangerous. Now moving to my final thoughts. I think one theme in this case is really about the dangers of a person who is inexperienced with romantic relationships getting involved with someone who is manipulative. Another theme is the idea of how Ciera felt trapped at various points. She was trapped by having a child, she was trapped by moving, and she was trapped by being childlike. Not necessarily in a bad way, but again, she was naive. She was thinking like a young person thinks, but contending with a much more sophisticated and worldly romantic partner. It appears as though Xavier was trying to force Ciera to forget who she was, to abandon her values. Xavier was making her life disorderly. Ciera was expressing his traits, like low conscientiousness. Repeatedly, Ciera tried to resist this change in herself, to fight for her identity and her values. She was trying to get control of her life back from Xavier. Unfortunately, she underestimated how much jeopardy she was in and how determined Xavier was to maintain control. She underestimated her opponent because she never truly saw him as an opponent. Those are my thoughts in the case of Ciera Breland. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.